People of Earth, good evening. Welcome to this edition 62 of Star Nation News. Today, a long edition where we will go over two big main topics, which are related to the disclosure of exotechnologies and also what is going on with the Aquarius age. What is it exactly? When it is beginning? Has it begun already? And who lives in the Aquarius constellation? These and much, much more on this week's edition of Star Nation News. So fasten your seatbelts and engage! This is a dawn of a new era for humanity where the deep state is receding and we are seeing the rising of new patterns, a new paradigm that is to bring the truth, the disclosure, and the revelation of a lot of shadow zones that were hidden to humanity, working with dark governments. All of this is coming up at the surface. The bounds of the deep states are receding. The protagonist, the predator class, is receding. And this is a historical time where we will have resistance from these receding dark forces. But do not focus on this resistance, because at every change of paradigm, there is resistance. It is a normal, natural process. And this also shall pass. With the US election and the new government, we are seeing the start, the beginning of big changes with the implementation of these technologies that have been prepared on different facilities, on the moon, on ships of worlds, and also underground white hat facilities on Earth. These technologies include medical technologies, transport technologies, and they are not talking about inventions. They will present to you as inventions or as probably covered programs that were developed recently, the recent decades of years, and that are now disclosed to the public. That may be a way also to disclose it. So really fasten your seatbelt, because as I always told you from the information from my contacts, once it starts, it's going to go very, very fast. Talking about the disclosure of these new technologies and the exposure of these ancient covert programs, be they belonging to the white hats or the dark hats, there are different things coming out. I think in both sides it's coming out. A new whistleblower recently came out. His name is Jake Barber, and he was interviewed for News Nations on January 18, 2025. Jake Barber worked 30 years for covert government UAP programs on crash retrievals. Recruited into the Air Force Special Operations for Non-Official Army Project and the intelligence community, he was eventually hired as helicopter pilot, hired by a team working on crash retrievals at an undisclosed place in the desert called The Range, where military were testing missiles and where UFOs were very often sighted and interacted with. Even though Jake Barber doesn't wish to disclose more of this location, he calls it The Range, his description could lead to believe, to my speculation, that it could be mentioning the White Sands Missile Range facility, a United States Army military testing area and firing range located in the US state of New Mexico. where several whistleblowers have revealed already covert programs involving interaction with non-human intelligence crafts. Among different retrieval operations, Jake Barber was involved in, he came across with meeting with the plasmic consciousness of a spacecraft and interface with it. He describes it as an overwhelming sense of emotion. Jake Barber says that this consciousness has stayed with him since, providing him with guidance and protection. This testimony joins the similar experience of David Adair, who interfaced with the same type of intelligence named Pitholem, as he worked in Area 51 and interacted with a retrieved spacecraft. I had myself the occasion to meet with Pitholem at the occasion of the Galactic and Spiritual Informer Conference last time in Denver, Colorado, in September 2024, where I had private conversation with David Adair, and I could feel her as she manifested through him, and we could enjoy an amazing moment of connection together with David and Pitholem. So I can really testify myself for having already been in contact with these consciousnesses in my work with the Galactic Federation of Worlds, that Pitholem is really real, and everything David Adair said is absolutely 100% true and correct. Jake Barber also worked in the retrieval of an egg-shaped vessel, white in color, and let us watch an excerpt of this interview he gave for journalist Ross Coulthard that aired on January 18 on News Nation channel. You will find the link below. Well, now this is consistent with testimony of US Army insider JP, who has been in contact with a non-Earth resident being named Lovent, who used to visit him in a white, small egg-shaped craft. JP's account of his experience on September 13, 2016 is related in a book by Dr. Michael Sala, US Army Insider Mission, Volume 1, released in 2023. JP describes the same type of craft and produces a drawing of it.
What's up, everybody? This is JP. I'm happy to be here to bring you this information and details of past missions that I have talked with Dr. Michael Sala. In U.S. Army Insider Missions, Volume 1, Chapter 4, page number 57, I talk about a friend of mine called Lovin. I used to walk to work from my house. I didn't have no car. I used to walk through this big parking lot with office buildings. Early in the morning, everybody's closed. There's no cars in the parking. I used to go through there because it was a shortcut to go to my work. So every time I went past there, I used to love looking at the stars, no light pollution. It was beautiful. So I used to like taking that shortcut. But one day, I saw an egg-shaped ship parked, and I looked at it, and it turned like halfway down, it turned like a metallic white, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And then I see an Indian-looking guy. Yeah, I'm talking about Lovent, and he's waving his hand. And I'm like waving back, and I fixed my eyes, and I was having the same feeling as when I was having the experience in Brazil. And he's like waving his hand, so I walked towards him, and we used to go do a lot of missions, different types of missions together. Quite interesting, the experience. Every time I came back, I used to get interrogated by these people in the white van. They used to take me into like this big white warehouse and interrogate me, and they're like, we know where you've been. and we want to know all the details of everything that you've been doing. And I used to stay quiet, but I used to share my information with Dr. Sala, and he used to document it on one. A lot of good information there. But he used to tell me about Lovin. I'm talking about Lovin now. He used to tell me about him living in the moon. And I know there's a lot of speculation of what's happening in the moon right now. The moon is an interesting place. Lovin told me that there's a city in the interior of the moon, and that these people that live there don't know what is Earth. They don't know nothing about the outer part of the moon.
Earlier on in 2023, in July, JP and myself had simultaneous common dreams of a previous life in Atlantis, where I gave him the crystal core of an Altean ark that was the foundation of the city of Atla, and which crystal carried the plasmic consciousness of the ship. It had to be taken off Earth, as an extinction event was happening, for this technology not to fall into the wrong hands. There was an emergency situation where JP, in our common identical memories, used a white egg-shaped ship to travel to the Altean star system and meet me there to bring back this technology safely. I had, in the meantime, let myself die in the cataclysm on Earth in order to travel in a different way to my home world. We met there. JP and I decided both then to speak to Dr. Michael Sala in a private WhatsApp video call on July 2023 that I am now authorized to show publicly by Dr. Sala and JP. JP's, whose face is covered, has been covered for the occasion today by my videographer. She put on him the helmet he was wearing at the last JSIG. In the video segment you are about to see, at the time in July 2023, Dr. Sala's book had just come out. I didn't have yet a copy, as Dr. Sala asked me not to buy one because he planned to offer me a signed copy in Orlando at the occasion of the JC conference in October 2023. Let us see this video segment.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. You see?
That's what I see when I stand in the field and I see you coming. This ship is hovering and it's white like pearl, like mother of pearl. It's like iridescent white, and it comes from above, it comes from far, and it stops here. And there's this translucent ramp that goes down, this little door, and you come there. He comes, JP, he comes down, you come down, and you are wearing, that's my side of the story. You come from this, and you go in the grass, and you walk towards me, and you hand me this thing. This thing is, what's that? You want to see it, Mike? And the device.
Look.
The device.
Elena, look. Elena.
That's the device. That was the ship joining that he traveled with Lovent, and he just said that he was traveled in that where he met this royal, I guess, this extraterrestrial royalty, and here you draw the same craft. Amazing.
Hey, so that craft also doesn't land though. It also levitates, and the ramp falls down the same way.
This one levitated. This one levitated in.
It How wonderful to see the corroboration between new information coming out about the existence of these egg-shaped craft. Very small, they can have 1 or 2 persons, but it is interfaced with the DNA of the pilot. So only the pilot can really get in there. So usually it's one single entity vessel. The egg shape is able to traverse dimensions and warp speed. It can go through the fabric of space-time, also travel in time as well as in space. So these ships can go very, very fast. They are not Galactic Federation of World technology. They are offered by the Intergalactic Confederation, the CEDARS, type of higher technology. A nice corroboration. JP and myself were thrilled to see coming via the testimony of Jake Barber. Thank you, Mr. Barber, to have the courage to come forward and bring to the world your truth. Thanks also to Ross Coulthard for interviewing him and allowing this information to be disclosed. Now, I do not like the term non-human intelligence when it comes to describe exotechnologies. The Earth doesn't hold the monopoly of human. The human species is widespread in the whole universe and others. So talking about non-human intelligence to qualify extraterrestrial inhabited ships is wrong. But it can be right to qualify 2 types of exotechnologies that are not piloted by human extraterrestrials. Thoran, for instance, my contact, is a human extraterrestrial. Our friend Jerry Wills from the Tau Ceti system is a human extraterrestrial. So you can see that humans are not only on Earth. So what does it mean, non-human intelligence? People who came up with the term know exactly what they're talking about. There's one thing they're not talking about is extraterrestrial ships from the Federation with people from the Federation inside. They're not talking about these ones. They're talking of 2 things. Non-human intelligence crafts. Unmanned crafts, like drones, extraterrestrial drones. It can be also flying saucers. It can be also ships inhabited by only plasmic consciousness, but no humans in it, be they from any other star system. So unmanned crafts and crafts that are inhabited by non-humans, greys. There has been a lot of crash retrievals from gray aliens from the Nebu or Dominion from the Orion group over the last decades that were part of the plan of the greys to pass on to humans technology without infringing the Prime Directive. When you crash a vehicle on the planet, you are not infringing the Prime Directive directly. You're going to do whatever you can to get this ship out before it goes into the hands of the locals, but you're not directly infringing it. That's why the Greys were giving crashed technologies to the dark military. So that's what non-human intelligence also can be applied to. A lot more is going to come, and as JP said in several interviews for Dr. Salah, and in his videos on his Patreon channel and his socials, many more military whistleblowers are going to come forward to disclose this covert program of interaction with these non-human intelligences. I would also fasten my seatbelt for this one because this is going to go wild very soon, very fast. Let us now comment on another topic that I'd like to bring up. Aquarius. What is Aquarius? It's a constellation. In our skies, I remind you that a constellation is a visual arrangement of stars that can be total different sectors of the galaxy. It's not because it's a constellation that these stars are close to each other. It can look like a certain shape from Earth, but another shape from another planet, another perspective. Are we transitioning into the age of Aquarius? Well, this is more than just a song, it's real, and we are drifting into a new astrological age. That is true. So, what it is all about? And what does it mean? Let's take a look. Something that most people don't know is that the position of the planets in the zodiac signs is different astrologically than they are astronomically. If one were to look through a telescope at the celestial bodies, they would not be traversing the actual constellations the way that astrologers say they are. That seems weird, but there is a simple explanation to that, defining the border of the constellation. There is a vast 25,772-year cycle caused by the real motion of Earth, known as the precession of the equinoxes. Think of the Earth as a spinning top that wobbles a little as it orbits around the Sun. Sometimes the top of Earth's axis, the geographic North Pole, points to the star Polaris, and over time it may point to a different star such as Vega. Each full wobble, about 25,772 years, is one full cycle of precession. This great cycle of precession is further broken down into the 12 zodiac signs or 12 astrological ages. This means that every couple of 1,000 years, there is a new sign. When we've passed through the all astrological 12 ages, we've passed through a full cycle. Astrologers refer to this as the great age through which we are passing. So the astrological age is identified by the zodiac sign that the March equinox, first day of spring in the northern hemisphere, is in. So roughly every 2,150 years, the sun's location in front of the background of stars at the time of the vernal equinox moves in front of the new zodiacal constellation. A new age might be said to begin at this point. In the 20th century, the International Astronomical Union assumed the duty of officially naming and defining all things astronomical. They created official constellation boundaries in 1930. So astronomers would tend to mark the beginning of the age of Aquarius based upon these constellation boundaries. But astrologers or New Age practitioners might or might not choose to use these same boundaries. According to astronomical computations, based on the International Astronomical Union's partition of the constellation, the Sun at the March equinox passed from being in front of the constellation Aries to being in front of the constellation Pisces in 68 BC. Looking ahead, again according to these computations, the March equinox will cross over into the constellation Aquarius in 2597. Now, the constellations are defined by the International Astronomical Union, are different sizes But astrologers often like to divide the zodiac into 12 equal sections. That's the difference. So that's one big difference between the way astronomers and astrologers look at the partition of constellation. Some astrologers said the age of Aquarius actually began in 2012, others in 2024. That's because they believe the star Regulus in the constellation Leo, the lion, marked the ancient border between the constellation Leo and the Cancer constellation. This star moved to within 30 degrees of the September equinox point in 2012, meaning that Regulus left the sign Leo to enter the sign Virgo in that year. Presuming equal-sized constellation in antiquity that places the border of the constellation Pisces and Aquarius at 150 degrees west of Regulus or at the March equinox point. By this reckoning, the age of Aquarius started in 2012. In 2024, also, the location of the Sun on the March equinox is in the constellation of Pisces, but also on the border of Aquarius. So you can see, it's very confusing. You can see that there are firm reckoning by many for how to calculate the beginning of an age. And there is no agreement between the various people doing the calculations. Overall, considering both the astronomical and astrological methods of parting the constellation areas, it is safe to say, overall, that we are anyway slowly moving into a new age, from Pisces to Aquarius. We are in the process of this transition anyways. Now, if we look at things on a factual fractal of this greater cycle of the precession of the equinoxes and consider the fractal cycle of it that is one Earth orbital year around the Sun, 1 year. We have our year parted into the zodiacal constellations. 12 or now 13 as newly decided. It brings us to a very special specific date. That was the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the fundamental shift that this event is bringing for this planetary civilization as it marks the end of a long tyranny operated by a very ancient predator class, modernly called the deep state. On January 20th, 2025, the long enslavement of humanity to these dark controllers ends. What ends also? The Kali Yuga, the world of illusions. And what also starts? On that particular day of January 20th, the dawn of the new golden age and the astrological sign of Aquarius. The zodiacal sign of Aquarius runs from January 20th to February 18th. There also is an alignment of several planets of this star system occurring in the same period of time. This reminded me of a song from 1969 by the group Fifth Dimension. Relevant name, by the way, as we have entered a fifth density zone in the course of this star system in this galaxy. Do you remember the lyrics of this song? I cannot play the song here for copyright purposes, but I can read you the lyrics that say, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets and love will steer the stars. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding, no more falsehoods or derisions, golden living dreams of vision, mystic crystal revelation, and the mind's true liberation. How uncanny, right? As new crystal technologies are being revealed, new technologies are being revealed, given to the people, peace is being made, and the falsehood led by the deep state are being exposed. As we are now on the topic of the Aquarius constellation, well, there is something else to mention. Who lives there? Are there extraterrestrial cultures on some worlds revolving around some of the stars of the Aquarius constellation? Well, there are many. And NASA announced in the last week of July 2022 that the James Webb Telescope had been focusing on finding potential exolife in the TRAPPIST-1 star system, in the constellation of Aquarius. This public announcement had stirred some wonder and interest among the public. I spoke about the TRAPPIST-1 star system in my first book, published in 2020, A Gift from the Stars, and told about inhabited planets there that are now only mentioned by NASA 2 years later. I had also mentioned in my March 11, 2022 video that the TRAPPIST-1 star system located in the Aquarius constellation will be the step 1 in our contact experience, bringing to Earth civilians the awareness of exolife. You can read the article First Contact and Who Are the Tengri on my website. One of these multiple times where I scooped NASA with information obtained by my contact upstairs. Anyways, so who really lives there? Are you ready? I am taking you for a trip to the Aquarius constellation in the TRAPPIST-1 star system. So fasten your seatbelt and engage. The Tengri originate from the second planet of the Tengur star system of TRAPPIST-1. 2 mass J2 306292805022285 or Galactic Federation of Worlds reference F1342, hosting 12 inhabited planets and more. The Sun of this system is a small red star, 39.6 light years away from Earth. After a shift from their star, their home planet, Tengura, became inhabitable due to a dramatic rise in temperature. The Tengri moved to the 5th planet. They named their beautiful world Tengri, which is now home to a dazzling tropical environment and amazing variety of life forms. Despite the beauty of their world, the Tengri are accustomed to live in semi-underground cities, keeping only about 10% of their habitat on the surface. The reason for this is to conserve their natural resources. The Tengri come to the surface to gather resources or for recreation. They also spread their civilization to their moons and have colonies on other planets in the Tengur system. This unique species is a mammalian and has 2 sexes. The Tengri are a quiet and peaceful people. They discovered Earth 10,000 years ago Their huge, disc-shaped ships are capable of long-distance travel. Tengri are a spacefaring culture very active as members of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. They have a seat on the High Council of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and the Tengri representative actually holds the position of herald. On March 11, 2022, I received information from my contacts in the Galactic Federation of Worlds that the TRAPPIST-1 star system would be at the height of mainstream media when the NASA James Webb Space Telescope would reveal signs of exolife there. In July 2023, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope did just that, not explicitly saying that it had found life in the TRAPPIST-1 system, but that there were 7 planets with measurements that could unmistakably support life. Could this decision by NASA to pick the TRAPPIST-1 system out of the 6,000 repertorial star system with exoplanets have something to do with the fact that a Tengri is a herald to the High Council of the Galactic Federation of Worlds? More disclosure will tell. The third planet of the Tengri system, Nen, hosts a great diversity of life. Even though they are not at a stage 3 interstellar level, the Nanu cohabitate with the Tengri colony. I thought it would be interesting to mention some of these beautiful indigenous cultures. Let us honor the magnificent diversity of the worlds of the TRAPPIST-1 star system. The first and the second planets of the Tengri system became a furnace as their star became more active, and a large number of life forms were evacuated to the third planet, which best suited their original environment. This is why we find such a breathtaking variety of creatures and cultures on Nanu. A Tengri outpost has also settled there to monitor the balance and evolution of the new ecosystem. Here are only the 6 species on Nanu or Nen that have organized themselves into societies. The fourth planet of the Tengri system is commonly called by its inhabitants Deyal. Again, no spacefaring civilizations, but a group of organized societies. The Tengri also have a colony on Deyal. Here are the main local societies. The Mirmir are a 4-foot high species that live in villages hidden in the depths of the Adayul's humid forest world. They are generally a hospitable people when they receive visitors. Otherwise, the Mirmir enjoy their isolation and tranquility and do not interact much with the Tengri colonies. Atmospheric conditions on the planet are hot and humid, with more temperated zone and at the poles, where the prominent cultures have developed. Near the equator, the diversity of life becomes unfathomable. This rich ecosystem is protected like a treasure by the Tengri. The second most evolved culture on this planet is a vegetal humanoid species named the Morhal Deyal. They are uniquely telepathic and do not have constructed habitat. These beings live in very remote areas and do not interact easily with other civilizations coming to the surface. The sixth planet of the Tengur system is also rich in a variety of life forms, two of which are organized societies. The Gigat are an aquatic amphibian species that live in elaborate underwater caves. They are uniquely telepathic and possess a certain level of technology. On the surface, in the northern hemisphere, we find the Megurat, a humanoid insectoid peaceful species. They haven't always been friendly with the Tengri, but they live in relative peace with their colonies. Insectoids are known to have a territorial gene, so cohabitation on a planet with insectoid cultures is never a simple equation. The seventh planet of the Tengri system is home to a great diversity of marine life, including a prominent planetary culture called the Yuru-Vili. The Tengri also have colonies on Eruya's surface and underwater bases where they interact with the Yuru-Vili. The surface of Eruya is also home to an indigenous cultures, but they are too numerous to be described here. Planet 8, Mara Omura, is also a hub of life, as are the other planets and their moons, with the diversity decreasing as one moves away from the central star, Tengur.
Star Nation News was brought to you by Elena Danaan. Don't miss the latest news every Monday on Elena Danaan's channel. Video directed by StefZak.